Thomas Harding. Thomas, go ahead.
Hey, buddy, how's it going this morning?
Going well, Thomas.
All right. Wanted to check in with you. The injury with Senzatela, the slight hamstring thing. First of all, early on, how's he coming back from it? And secondly, how does that change your pitching coming up? I think Sunday, if I'm not mistaken.
First question, he's doing better. Feels good. The trainers are encouraged, but still, as you guys know, a hamstring's tricky. So we're going to be cautious here in the early stages of this to make sure that he keeps progressing and the and the injury heals. But he's doing better. He feels better. He's encouraged as well. So we'll see where that goes. Sunday, I know that Steve and Daryl and the pitching guys are figuring that out. I'm not sure exactly who's going to take his place on Sunday, but we'll throw a number of pitchers in that game against the White Sox.
Hey, one thing off the subject. Last season, in dealing with the COVID situation, what are the things that maybe you learned along the line that you feel like with more traveling and having a more normal schedule that you guys have under control now?
Say that again, Thomas. I didn't quite get the question.
Yeah, what are the things about the protocols and everything that you feel you have under control where it's not as vexing as before?
Yeah, well, I think experience is the best teacher. We went through it last year, and pretty much everything is in place again this year with the same guidelines and protocols and restrictions. So there's nothing that's surprising us or anything that we have to change our behavior. We went through it last year. So on a daily basis, we know what to expect as far as the testing, as far as distancing, as far as what we need to do in the clubhouse, what we need to do as we go through the day, pretty much everything as it relates to the virus. So again, I think there's something to the fact that we're conditioned for this now, and we're hopeful as time goes on that some of these restrictions will be lessened. But here in the present, we know what's coming our way every day as far as how to handle the protocols.
The thing about it is you guys had relatively few COVID cases last season. But just watching it, do you know that, or do you think that, hey, things could happen even if we do everything right?
Yeah, for sure. You never know. It's a random thing that, whether you get exposed or not, it could happen to anybody at any time. That's why you try to mitigate as much as possible on a daily basis with everyone. So, and that's our responsibility as Rocky players, coaches, staff that, are in, our so-called bubble. And the same goes for, all 29 other teams as well. But you're right. We had some early cases on as we got into, June and July. But once we got started in summer camp and that moved on to the season, we did well, as did most teams, right? There was a couple things that popped up with a couple clubs early, specifically the Cardinals and the Marlins. They got that under control, and we ended up playing almost every single game as an industry. So again, it's a responsibility that all of us have to undertake, and I think everybody who went through it last year should be very proud of how we got through it.
Hey, thanks, buddy. I'll let somebody else jump in.
Okay.
Go to Nick Groke. Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, hey, buddy. If you were creating a first baseman from scratch, like making him in a laboratory, like a scientist or something, what do you look for in a first baseman? Are you traditional? Do you need power at the corners all of the time? Or, what are you looking for in a first baseman, just in general?
Well, and John, I think traditionally it tells you it's a middle of the order bat that provides power and production. You look at that type of hitter. Willie McCovey comes to mind as the traditional prototypical first baseman. You might have to look him up, Nick. He's well before your time. Tracy Ringlesby will know about Willie McCovey. But in general, you look at corner positions as those that provide the power, that provide production. Again, on the physical side, you look for maybe a big target over there, a guy with soft hand. I mean, we can go through a list of the perfect first baseman, just like you go through the list of the perfect second baseman, shortstop down the line. But I also know that a premium can be placed on the defense at that position. It's becoming more talked about now, how important that is for the other three infielders and just making plays. So you can look at a Keith Hernandez type, a Mark Grace type first baseman where maybe not a lot of power, but they played defense, they got on base, they hit for average, they contributed in other areas besides maybe pure power. But again, I think your team will sort of let you know, the players will let you know who fills out that position. And nowadays, with teams showing a lot of versatility and flexibility and maneuverability, it's advantageous to maybe have a couple guys there who maybe give you a better chance on a given night against a certain pitcher, and the availability to move maybe a guy at first base to another position also helps. I think you can look at the Dodgers and what they've done with like Bellinger and Muncy, those fellas that have sort of moved around the diamond for them. And other teams have sort of done the same with that position. I think the Yankees do that a little bit as well. And there's some guys that are locked in as first baseman. Jose Abreu of the White Sox, Goldschmidt when he was with the Diamondbacks and now the Cardinals, Hosmer in San Diego, locked in as an everyday first baseman. So it depends on the team and how your roster looks.
Yeah. So again, just because you mentioned it, I've always been curious. When you look at a roster, if you're getting, like, say, power from a position that's not traditionally a power position, does it make it feel like you? Is that like a bonus, or does it make it feel like you can do something different with it?
Well,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's a little bit of a bonus for sure, because a lot of times the positions that require, great defense, a lot of times doesn't line up with power. We're fortunate to have a shortstop that plays great defense and power, and I think that a lot of the athleticism that shortstops are providing and second baseman with the all-around game of power. That really helps a lineup. It really does. If you can play premium defense and have power, that's, what a combination that is, right? No matter what position. But traditionally, scouting tells you that it doesn't happen a lot. But when you have those players, it's awesome. And we have one at short. And you can go across the entire game and find, those players that play premium positions that have power. It's pretty special. Correa of the Astros, Seager of the Dodgers, even Lindor, has some sneaky pop, even though it might not have shown up last year. Javi Baez, some of the guys who are free agents this year at the shortstop position. Jeff Kent had power as a second baseman, maybe not great defense, but provided enough offense to have him, just be average at second and really help their lineup, because you could fill other spots with bats. So, it's just it's a byproduct of your roster, what you can do with it.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. Thanks, buddy.
You got it, Nick.
Patrick Saunders, go ahead.
Good morning, buddy.
Good morning.
I have two questions for you. One, as I'm sure you're probably aware, Major League Baseball is now designated June 2nd as Lou Gehrig Day to help awareness of ALS. Of course, Sam Hilliard's father is suffering from that disease. I think it's only the third official day an MLB has now, Roberto Clemente Day and Jackie Robinson Day. Just your reaction to that decision and that news?
Well, I think it's I think it's great. I think it's going to be a special day right alongside Jackie Robinson and Roberto Clemente. Lou Gehrig was one of the greatest players in the history of baseball, and his memorable speech at Yankee Stadium is always in the minds of baseball fans across our country, young and old. And now to have the disease that he died from recognized as, in our game, I think it's special. And obviously it affects, a few players in the game, probably more than I know, but I know that, our guy, Sam, with his father, Stephen Piscotty, who we played yesterday with the A's, his mother passed away. So, and I'm sure there's others, but Lou Gehrig, and his obviously his connection to Cal Ripken as far as game played, there's a connection there to Lou in the game. I mean, you think of Babe Ruth, you think of Henry Aaron, Jackie Robinson, Lou Gehrig. These guys are icons, and I think to have this recognized, coinciding with the disease, I think it's awesome.
Okay, my second question for you. You have emerging young group of players, and there's been a lot of talk from those guys about the energy and the excitement in this young core. Given that, however, Charlie Blackmon is the veteran in the clubhouse now. He's the guy, the elder statesman.
Right.
What tone do you think in the past, but even more so going forward, does Charlie set for this team?
Well, I think, Charlie recognizes now that some of the position players that we've had in the past are not here. And the service time that he has, and, I'll throw Trevor in there now as a 5+ player with Chuck. Those two guys are setting the tone now of how to go about it. And their experience and their wisdom, I think, will show, and their leadership will show amongst this group. I think with Charlie, and he's taken that to heart, what that means. And, we've spoken about that. My encouragement to, maybe to fulfill a role that he hasn't had to, on a grander scale like he has now. And I think he's embracing it. I think he's enjoying it. Charlie, spends a great amount of time each day getting ready to play and doing his thing for the team for him to play well for the Rockies. And I think now he's going to be able to continue to do that, but also share, his thoughts, experiences, teachings, with our younger players. And I think he'll be a great mentor for our group. And I think that he's relishing that.
And just a follow-up to that, and we've probably asked you this in the past, you mentioned his workout routine, getting prepared. Does that rub off on guys? When they see a guy like
Sure.
Charlie, who's an established star, yet he is always doing what it takes.
No doubt about it. I think nowadays, Patrick, that players across all sports, and I see it firsthand in our game, that the work ethic of these players is really amazing. Their commitment to the physical part of being ready to play, the mental part of being ready to play. Just continues to grow, every year. That, players are invested. They're invested in their careers, and they're invested in, playing well for their organization. And Charlie's always done that. I think, this started way back when Charlie, made the conversion from left-handed pitcher to position player. And, maybe wasn't thought of as being even a professional player. And he turned himself into a, multi-year all-star batting champion based on work ethic. So it can't help but rub off, when players look to see how Charlie goes about it every day. They're rubbing shoulders with him in the weight room, in the batting cage, in the clubhouse, in the training room, in the video room. It can't help, players would be doing themselves a disservice if they didn't watch Charlie Blackmon.
Thank you, bud.
You got it.
Stay with the Denver Post and go to Mark Kisler. Mark.
Hey, buddy.
Hi, Mark.
Good to talk to you.
Good morning.
I'm here mainly to give Groke a remedial lesson convalescence and Stretch McCovey because I'm old.
Thank you. Yeah. Will you please, when we're done, will you follow up with Stretch? And you can talk about that line drive in the 63 World Series right at Bobby Richardson that would have won the World Series for the Giants, but it went to the Yankees in Game 7 off of Ralph Terry, I believe. It was a bullet.
Okay. First baseman, though. This organization in Galarraga and Helton had two pretty good examples of run production combined with good defense. That's not easy to find, as we've discovered the last couple of years.
No doubt.
The next Cat or the next Helton, is that counterproductive for this team to look for, or you always aspire to that?
I think you're always looking for the best players at any position. I think that, when you talk about Galarraga, I mean, what a player, great career. Just a side note, I was a teammate of Galarraga in 81, 82. He was 16 years old, playing for the Caracas Leones. We were winter ball teammates. That we went on to win the Caribbean World Series, by the way. So anyhow, I digress. But talking about Helton, a Hall of Fame player. But you're always looking for, whatever position, the best guys to fill that. And organizations are, looking at talent, looking at players, amateur talent. You get guys into your system, and right away you're evaluating players, and they might be drafted as a shortstop, they might be drafted as third basemen, they might be drafted as corner outfielders, and you sort of look at your roster, you look at the 200 plus players in your organization, and you project potential. And I think you're always looking for that guy to who can fill that first base role of production, of defense, offensive output, because it's a position that has to provide output. And the last couple years, we've haven't met that standard per se. Mark Reynolds in 17 did a nice job for us. He really did. I mean, pull up Mark's stats. He was a big part of our playoff team getting there in 17. Since then, it's we haven't found that fit. So hopefully this year with the guys that whether Josh, C.J. Crone, Greg Bird, we can get that production back where we need it.
And one follow-up, COVID related. I know because I was born in the same month and the same year as you, that tomorrow, March 5th, I'm eligible for a COVID vax in Colorado. Have you gotten yours yet? And where are you at trying to get one?
Well, I have not, but I am. I know that through our training staff, our medical staff, we're trying to make that happen. Maybe even down here in spring training. I know here in Arizona, they've dropped the age limit. I don't know whether you have to be an Arizona resident or not, but we're trying to find some avenues to get those of us who are in that age bracket vaccinated.
Thank you, sir.
You got it.
I've got Tracy Ringlesby, and then followed by Drew, and then we got to get Sam Hilliard on here. So Trace, go ahead.
Buddy, as a Ted Klasuski guy, who was before your guys, I appreciate power hitting first base.
Yeah, well, the thing and Mark and you can appreciate, I always loved how Ted cut his sleeves super short so he could show his biceps.
Exactly. I had a Ted Klasuski jersey as a young man. Anyhow, on the Senzatela thing, do you have to start planning for someone else to be one of the 5 starters, or should he be okay?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you have to plan on it. We're hoping it doesn't get there, but we do have to plan on it for sure.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass it.
Okay. Yes.
Drew, go ahead.
Good morning, buddy.
Morning, Drew.
Wanted to ask you about the speed potential of your offense. There's a lot of guys in the lineup. We talked about this young group. A lot guys that can run, can really move it. Just wondering if that is a plan to be more, maybe not more, but a big part of the offensive profile where you've got up and down your roster guys who can move. If we might see you try to steal the extra base or take the extra base a little more often.
Yeah, for sure. We're gonna try to push that a little bit. We've already talked about it already this spring as a group. Hampson, Hilliard, Tapia. Those guys. Those guys can run. Trevor, of course, has that capability of the stolen base. So those 4 guys, if they're in the lineup, I think the opposition has to be aware. We're going to make them aware that we're going to run. We have some guys who can handle the bat a little bit too, so we might put some guys in motion, just to, create a little bit more pressure on the opposing pitcher-catcher combination and the defense. So, that's there. Chris Owings can steal a base as well if he makes the team and is in the lineup. Obviously, Chuck years ago, had some big numbers, but he's not that threat, but he still has that knack to know when to go against certain pitchers. I mean, he's not going to be the big stolen base numbers he had, a handful of years ago, but it's going to be something that we're going to stress a little bit, and hopefully we can take advantage of that, of some of our team speed.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You got it.
Hey, Grove, did you have one more really quick?
Yeah. Hey, just real quick, buddy. Sorry. The league and the players union have made it clear that there's absolutely not going to be a DH this year. There was some hope that not some hope, but there was an idea that it might still work out like last year. Were you really planning for it? Does that mess you up at all?
I don't know whether it messes you up. I think we all sort of expected it to be in place again, but it doesn't really. It hasn't really affected us. I don't think that this offseason we meaning the front office and Jeff and his guys and just our conversations about our group. We didn't go out and get a true DH. I mean, we have some options if it did happen, whether it's Bird or Crone or Josh or, it gives you more flexibility. I think some teams maybe signed a guy or 2 extra, maybe thinking that was going to happen. But I think we all expected it. But it doesn't really change how we are going to go about it. I mean, we've always been a National League team here in Colorado. And I think, we know what to expect without the DH in the lineup. Our players do, our pitchers do. So it doesn't really buckle us as much.
Okay. Thanks, buddy.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, buddy.